everyone, welcome to this video lesson. I am Chudman Namdi. Here we are going to learn about the @ViewChildren Decorator. So let's dive in straight in. The @ViewChildren Decorator is used to get list of element references from the view DOM. Now look at this component we have here and look at the template. We have two elements, H1 and H1 heading elements. Now they have the same element references, test and test. So these are the template variable names. Now we can use the @ViewChildren Decorator to get the list of all element references in the DOM that have the selector test. Now to do that, we'll first define the class field where we will store the list of references of this. Now let's call it children. Now we'll decorate this children class field with the @ViewChildren Decorator. @ViewChildren Decorator. Then we'll pass in inside the name of the template variable that we want to get the list from the DOM. So in this case, we want to get the list of all element references with the name test. So we'll pass it here. Then we'll pass the exclamation symbol. This exclamation symbol tells the TypeScript compiler that we are going to use this children class field when it is initialized with a value. And then one thing we need to note is that the @ViewChildren Decorator returns a query list of the elements from the DOM. So it returns only query list. So here write the type of this children class field as query list, and it returns element ref. So these are native elements, and in Angular we represent native elements as this type element ref. So we'll put it like this. Now the ViewChildren Decorator only resolves the query before the ng after view init method is called. So we'll get the reference here in the ng after view init lifecycle method. So we'll call it here and save. So you see in our DOM we have the query list here. So you see what this does. Let's recap. What this @ViewChildren Decorator does is to search in the view DOM elements that have the references test, then gathers all of them and stores them into a query list, as we can see here. Now this query list holds the list of the element references in the DOM, and you can see it has different properties. Now it has the first property refers to the first element in the list, and the last property refers to the last element in the list. The length too. Now we have the changes. These changes is used to detect when a view or when a child element is removed from the list, added or deleted or updated from the list. So it will trigger these changes here. Now this emit dict changes only property has been deprecated, so we will not use it for now, or will not talk about it for now in this video. So now to get the list of elements in this query list, to get the list of all these elements, we'll use the to array or to for each. We'll come to the array next. Now this loops through all the elements and we'll get them here. Now each element is an element ref as we have indicated here. So this child is an element ref, and that's why we can reference its native property. Now let's save. So you see we're able to reference and get its property H1. Now wait, let me pull this down, and also let me differentiate between these views 1 and 2. Now let's loop through these elements and change their color to red. So this is how we are going to do it, the same as we did in @ViewChildren Decorator, style color red. So you see all of them. So with this for each, we're able to loop through all these element references and be able to manipulate all of them using this for each. Now let's confirm all the properties we previously lifted that are available in the query list. First, last, and the changes. Now let me remove this for now, then this for now. Then let's just grab this dot children dot first. So this is the first element in the list, and it will point to this view child 1. So let's just style it to red. So you see it only, it just style it only the first one to red. So you see the first property in the query list points to the first element in the list of element references returned. Now if we use the last property, it will only style the last property. Now let's add more element references. Now let's make this to be 3. So you see 3 now becomes the last element, and while the view child 1 still becomes the first element. So now the first and the last property are just defined by the first occurrence here. So if we move this from the first to the last to the in between or in the middle, now this view child 2 becomes the first element. So you see it becomes the first element. Now let me reposition it. Becomes the first element. So now let's look at the changes property. The changes property is an observable that emits a new value whenever an element is added to the DOM. So you can see it's an observable. So it subscribe to the observable, and this callback will pass to the observable, will be run whenever an element is added, removed here. Now let's simulate adding or removing an element. Let me add a button. Let's say add element. Now let's pass the click event, then pass an add method. So come here, pass add method. So let's create a fourth h1, but let's use the if control flow syntax to remove it from the DOM like this. So we'll come here, we'll add a show member variable or a class field. Let's make it false. So when we click on add, it will just turn the show to inverse of it. That means true. So it will just be toggling it. So instead, let's just change the method to toggle. Here, toggle, and here add or remove element. Now let's save. So if we click on this add and remove element button, it will add a new element with the same template variable name, the same as we have in this view children decorator. So when we add it, it will update these children, and these changes, the observable will be emitted, and we'll get this callback here. So now let's try it. So let me click on this add or remove element. Let me click on it. So you see I clicked on it, added a new element, view child 3, and we can see the changes, and this callback is emitted, and we have our log in our browser. So we can see now the length is 4 because we added another element, 1 2 3 4. So now let me change this to 4 for clarity purposes. Now let me do it again. Let me clear this, then add. See, we now have the length 4. Now if I click on this and remove, it will remove the this element, and it will also emit the changes here, and we'll get the changes here. So the changes here is also a query list like we have seen. Now let me click this here again. It has removed it. We have only 3 elements, so it emitted a value in the changes observable, and we got it here. So now you see, now the element length is now 3. So 1 2 3. So this is how the view children decorator works. It's very simple to understand and use. It's just grab all the element references from the view DOM and stores it in a query list, and we can use the properties in the query list to access the elements in the list. Now we can use the read option in the view children to read a different token. So here we are reading by default the element ref, but if we want to read view container ref from the list of element references in the DOM, we can just simply use the read option. You see, we passed it as a second parameter, this object, and then we'll set the read property and then the value. Then let's say we want to read view container ref. So here we'll remove element ref and add view container ref. So it reads view container ref token from all the element references in the DOM. So now we'll display it here. Now let me display the children, then we'll save. So opening the query list, you will see. See, the first is a view container ref, where the last is a view container ref. So you can see also the result. And you see view container ref is read for all the list of element references in the DOM. So the same thing we did in view child decorator, it's also applicable in the at view children. Now we can also read component instances using the at view children. Here we have a component, test component. Let's go to it, go to implementation. So see the component. Now let's render it here. So instead of h1, we'll render our component. Now let's remove this. And then let me render it like 4 times. Now let's remove this first, and then because it's a component, then here will no longer be view container ref. Let's change it to the component instance, or the component which is test component. Then we'll paste it here. So this children will be a list of component instances of this test component. So now let's save. Let's open here, go to result. So you can see it's a list of component instances. You can see test components, all the 4 of them. So we can also use the read property here to read another token. Let me say, let's read an element ref of it. So to just return HTML instance of this. So this read token does it for us. So here will no longer be test component, it will be element ref. But let's leave this like this and save and see what we have in the DOM. So you see, we now have element ref of all these test components. So we need to change this to be an element ref, because if we try to use it as an instance of test component here, it will fail, because the list we have is an element ref, not a test component instance. So we need to change this for TypeScript purposes, so as to be able to know what we are getting from here. So we'll change it to element ref, so that we know that we can access native elements inside it. Because if we leave it as test component, this child.native element will give a TypeScript compiler error, whereas it is true. So we need to change this so as to follow the token we are returning from the list. So you see, this works. Also, we can read off component instances without using the template variable. We can simply pass in the name of the component. Like for example, here we can pass in the test component, and automatically the type will be QueryList test component. So it will grab all instances of test components in our DOM and store it in the query list of these children. So you see it here in our results. So you see the 4 components we have here are all stored. So we can still grab the list of element references from the DOM using the component name, and it works very well. So this is the end of this video. I hope you understood what we did here, how we're able to use the view children decorator to get a list of element references. Then also remember that it returns a query list of the type of the element you want to return, or the data type, or the type of the element reference you want to return. And also remember, it has different properties that are very useful. For example, the first is used to get the first element in the list, last is used to get the last element, then the result returns the array of all the element references grabbed from the view DOM. So this is it. If you have any comment or anything to say or any confusion, you can write a comment in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer you. Then in the next video, I'll talk about the new View Children API. It's no longer a View Children decorator. It's a View Children API that came with Angular version 17.2 that is used to also query list of element references to the DOM. It works the same way as the View Children decorator. So it does away with the usage of @view children. So instead of using the @view children, you now use the View Children API. It's not a decorator, it's a method inside the @com module. So it replaced this @view children, and it's also a signal based function that returns a signal whose value then returns a query list of the components. I will treat about this new API in the next video. So like and subscribe to my channel, and also click on the notification button to get notified about this new View Children API video when it drops. Thank you and so much, and see you on the next video. Bye.